Hi, welcome to another episode of Conversations with Eminent Women. Here, we speak to women who are doing phenomenal things in their specific spheres. My name is Tsehoha Jomoachi, and today we are joined by a woman who has taken the world by storm because The Polygamist continues to be trending on Netflix. But today we are joined by the author of The Polygamist. Of course, Polygamist is adapted from Nyathi's book. She joins us today. Sue, thank you so much for your time. Hi.
Thank you for giving me the time and the platform.
So, Sue, let's speak about before you even became a writer. What were you doing? Because I know this is not something that you were doing initially, right?
So before I don't know if there was ever a before, because I think I always was. I think as a child, I was already telling stories in my playtime through how I used to play. I would, act out stories. And I know my dad was concerned. He used to think I was talking to myself. And I'd be like, no, there are characters here. I'm talking to the characters. And yeah, so already I think I was acting out the stories. And it's only when I had, once I had the vocabulary and the language that I started to write them down. I mean, I remember even as young as when I was 8, 9, I was cutting out pictures out of magazines and just writing the stories of the faces, the characters. And so already that the storytelling bug was already there, I think. So I think the writing had already established itself in me, even as a young child. It's just that obviously as you grow up, your parents would want you to pursue like your traditional careers, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, accountant. And so they dissuaded me from pursuing anything that had to do with writing. And I suppose with wisdom, knowing that it's very hard for many writers to make a living from writing. So that's how I ended up in finance and investments. I have a master's degree in finance, and I have a career spanning over 15 years in different, areas in the finance industry. I worked in corporate finance, worked in asset management. I worked in economic development consulting, and my last job was in stockbroking before I finally hung up my corporate heels to write full time in 2018. So I think the writing was always there. I was just now juggling it with the day job and writing after hours.
So what then what convinced you that writing could actually become your full-time career?
It wasn't so much being convinced, but there was a time, especially around 2017, 2018, I was starting to feel this tension inside of me. Because here I was as an investment analyst by day and a writer by night, because that's when I started writing The Gold Diggers, which is my second novel, around 2014, between 2014 and 2016. And I would write it. I write every morning from like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.
Sure.
Every morning before I went to work. And so my day, so 6 a.m. I'd stop and then get my son ready, and I would get ready for work. And then I'd go to work. And my job was not the conventional 8 to 5. Sometimes you'd work until 10, so the hours were long. And then I would sleep for those few hours, and then I'm up writing. And I had to do that consistently. Otherwise, I wouldn't have finished that book. And so, yeah, there was starting to be tension between my day job and my writing, because they were not divergent, at all. It's not like I could borrow from my day job to use with my writing. I mean, a lot of the times I used to get into my the senior at work would always complain about my flowery language coming through the business reports. He'd be like with a pen, cut this out. It's too flowery, too descriptive, because business writing is very rigid and strict and so there was always that tension, because now I think that creative side of me wanted to come out, and the investment analyst corporate is pushing that side down, because so I felt like I was living two lives. And I actually started to feel like an imposter in my day job. I could do the job, but I didn't feel comfortable. It's almost like you inhabiting a space. You can do the role, but but you know it's not you. You know you're not supposed to be here. You're supposed to be somewhere else. So there was a tension. So the writing was pulling me, and the day job is pulling me. So the logical me is saying you need a day job. You need this salary. You need the security of a paycheck. You're a single mom. Come on, you can't leave a secure job to pursue something that's unknown. And the other side of me says, you'll never know until you try. Do you want to wake up at 50 with regrets? So these were like the constant conversations going on in my head. But things always come to head, because the thing was, when you're in a comfort zone, because work had become that for me, my comfort zone. And sometimes change will not happen in a comfort zone. You need to get out of it. And so for me, it was taking that plunge. I was fearful, I won't lie to you, because I was like, my son was probably at the time, probably 3 years old. It's very small. And I was fearful of what would happen on the other side. Because I have responsibilities. We've got debit orders, Life still lives.
Life continues.
whether you're writing or not. So, yeah, so it was this raging tension. And I was also struggling in terms of, now I'm juggling 3 roles. So it's the investment analyst role, it's my writing, it's being a mom. So you're throwing these balls and you're dropping some. And at some point, my work was starting to falter, like the quality of my work. It was starting to show that, I wasn't keeping up. And so when, the CEO called me and said, listen, this isn't working. And I was like, no, it isn't. We both agreed. And, he was like, do you think, would you like to take a package and move on? Because, you're not, we see you're not here anymore, And, so then I said, I think that's the best. And that's how I left. It was in 2018, just a few months before I turned 40.
Sure.
Yeah. And I took the package and I left. And that's when I wrote A Family Affair over the next, so between 2018 and 2020. I just threw myself, I wrote because I wasn't worried about, I had a package so I could survive. And I just threw myself into writing and I wrote. And that's how A Family Affair came about. Yeah. And I was happy those years because I would wake up, I would write. My son was at school. Pick him up after school. Then I'd switch to mom. The next day I write. And it was a nice balance for me. And I realized that I was just close to burning out. If I'd carried on, I would have really crashed. So that 2 years was marvelous in the sense that I also started being invited to international festivals. I could travel. I had time. I didn't have, having to take leave. I could actually go and participate. So I was really enjoying it because it was like, now this is the writer's life. This is what you've always wanted. And then boom, COVID happened. And then everything just went haywire. Because now bookstores are closed. You're not selling books. You're not earning income. You can't travel to anywhere. You can't go to festival. You can't earn anything. So, that was then when everything, the cookie crumbled.
Sure.
Essentially, now I'm not making any money. And reality bites because how are you going to survive, girl? And so that really, things went downhill from there. And that was probably the most challenging period of my life.
Let's talk a little bit about that. What transpired in that challenge? What was the biggest challenge that you faced? Of course, you're not making money. You've got this son that you also need to raise. You yourself need to live, during that time. But what was the most challenging, would you say, for you as a person who loves writing so much?
Well, for us, I couldn't write.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it was about COVID. I think the uncertainty, not knowing, will we survive this? So also I couldn't really focus. I couldn't focus. And the book I'd finished writing, had to be put on hold. We couldn't launch it because of the lockdown. Actually, I don't really remember much of that period. It's like a blur for me, that whole COVID period. I just remember knowing it was hard. But I think in the difficulty, I also became very prayerful because that was the only thing I had. yeah, I think that's what really carried me through that period. And I also then had to figure out, okay, how am I going to survive? And I think it was during that period when I also transitioned to writing for TV, finding writing gigs for television, and storylining. And then at some point I got a stint on Generation. So I started to earn money so we could survive. But the nature of TV work also is very demanding, that I didn't have time to write. So kind of defeated the purpose, because I was now back to square one. Yes, I'm doing creative work, but I don't have time to create anymore. So we're back to where I started, I mean, the whole thing of me leaving my job was to write, but I'm not writing. So that became the challenge. And so for me, then going forward, it was like, I need to find the kind of work that will be able to support me whilst I write. And so I think I started to look at writing residencies as well, things that sustain you, because I think that's the biggest challenge for any creative. How do you get sustenance whilst you're trying to create a work of art? Because you're not earning any income during that time. And even with my other books, the royalties they weren't much. So you can't really survive on royalties. Yes, you'll pay some bills, but not all of them. So you still have to supplement that income. So it was, you're always looking, doing stuff. And that also weighs you down creatively. Having the constant grind. You're not free to think, because you're worrying about bread and butter issues, which is really not conducive for writing.
You need to be creative as possible.
Yeah. So it was a very challenging period. And it just taught me that if I can survive that, I can survive anything. And then, so post-COVID, we launched Family Affair. And it's also during that time when we emerged from that period when Stained Glass approached me with the offer to do the adaptation. And yeah, I said yes, because I was like, let's bread and butter. It's like, and I was thinking, look, I'd optioned the book before earlier in 2017, and nothing had come out of it. So look, it was 50-50 for me. I was like, look, a lot of books are optioned, but many don't go into development. So it was a 50-50 thing, but, the option income also provided me, sustenance. So I was like, no, it's all good. Let's do it. And so that's how it came about. And then later on, that's when they sold the idea to Netflix, and then Netflix came on board. That was in 2024.
Sure.
And the rest is history.
Is history.
Yeah.
And we'll come back to Polygamist, because that's obviously our biggest talking point at the moment. But let's speak a little bit about your kind of writing style. Your writing explores a lot around family, migration, and also just, issues that families would have to deal with. Is there why do these kind of themes and subjects appeal to you so much?
So I'm not one of those writers who's writing about dystopian or fantasy societies. I just like to write about things that resonate with me, as I see them, as I live them. And so that's why those themes often are, prominent in my stories. And things I've always been able to, I've wanted to reckon with a lot of social issues through my writing. So for me, storytelling is not just a tool to entertain. It's also a tool to get society to introspect and change, and hopefully spark conversations, as we are seeing right now. That's exactly what I've always wanted. I've never wanted to be that kind of author who just gets read and put back on the shelf. I want my books to be discussed. And that's why my books have always been popular with book clubs. Because people have always felt a need after reading to debrief, to get together, let's talk. And we're seeing the talking happening now on a wilder scale. People are writing think pieces, thought pieces, they're introspecting, vlogging. TikTok is filled with, hot takes or lessons learned. And I love to see it, because for me, it's people engaging with my work in a positive way. Because you're not just being entertained, but you actually sitting down, you introspecting about what you saw and what you consumed. And it's affecting, the way you see things and the way you perceive them, and the fact that people are going out there wanting to share and influence others in a positive way, really makes me feel good, because then it means, I did a job well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Would there be a character in any of your books that reminds you of you?
Definitely there would be.
Yeah.
I think as a writer, parts of you will find themselves on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me, probably the most personal book that I've written would be A Family Affair. The one you haven't read yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I always say, in each of the sisters, there's a part of me, and everyone was like, what do you mean in each of them? And I say, yes, in all three of them. There are aspects of me in those characters. So, yeah, definitely, because I think sometimes as writers, we bleed onto the page.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you can avoid it. I mean, I find writing is a very cathartic process as well. Like I can offload some of my stuff onto the characters. And once it's off me as well. Yeah, so definitely there would be aspects of me in the writing, but not all the books. I mean, I remember someone on radio, we were discussing my fourth novel, An Angel's Demise, and they thought it was me. And I was like, I think they thought something. I was like, that was not me at all. In that novel, that's definitely not me. So I think because also of the way I write and because of the characters resonate deeply, a lot of people think I'm writing about particular people. I mean, if you hear the talk around Jonasi, is Jonasi inspired by a real person? And I say, no, actually not at all. He's a fictional character. He embodies, a certain kind of man, a narcissistic man. Mm-hmm. And I think when I wrote the book, I didn't have the language to describe that man. But I would observe those characteristics. And so I put them into this character. And that's what he embodies. And so, because a lot of men will be like, I think you're writing about me. I feel like you were writing that's my life story. And I'm always like, if the shoe fits, wear it. If you feel you're a Jodasi, own it,
Yeah.
because that's what he is. Yeah.
Let's talk then, because of course we'll keep coming back to the Polygamist, because that is, like I said, our biggest talking point. Let's talk about the Polygamist. You say, of course, with the characters, they are fictional. It's what you see and so forth. But with the Polygamist, was there something that led you to, one, call it the Polygamist, the book, but also what was happening? Was there a time where you saw polygamy in your own life? What was happening for you to write this particular book?
So really the idea for the Polygamist came when I started working in corporate in 2001 in Harare. So I grew up in Bulawayo, which is the second largest city in Zimbabwe. But it's very conservative city, as whereas Harare would be your bustling capital. Mm-hmm. So Harare could probably be your equivalent of Johannesburg, but not as big as Johannesburg. But it's got that pace, and bright city lights, that kind of vibe. So when I started working in Harare, I come from a very conservative Catholic background. And, I was raised to believe you get married, you grow up, get married, live happily ever after. So what I started to see when I started working in Harare were a lot of men who were married. They were supposedly monogamous, right? But they were living polygamous lives. Mm-hmm. So they had other wives and, they were leading these parallel lives with other satellite families. And I just found that so intriguing. Like, how does that even work? Because, polygamy, I wasn't a stranger to polygamy because my maternal grandfather was a polygamist and he had 5 wives. But, with the traditional kind of polygamy, the first wife in Lenkulu, she knows all the other wives that come. And in my grandfather's case, everyone lived on one homestead. Mm-hmm. My grandfather had bought a plot and, all the wives worked the land together with the children. And I remember asking my grandmother, like, how was it for you, being in this polygamous setup? And she was like, there were more hands to do the work. So it was more of a sharing the labor, whether it's emotional, physical, whatever labor, they were sharing it. And for her, it was just more hands to do the work. And that was her experience of it. And I think for a woman of her time, that probably was, there was no other choice. You got married young, you had children, and you made the most of it. and they used to plant a lot of crops, sorghum, and she also used to brew beer, which she used to sell to put all her children to school, my mother included. They used to drink the beer. They used to have a lot of these beer. I think it was a coping mechanism, to be honest, because my grandfather also used to drink a lot. And so they all used to drink. And I think that's also was a way to cope, And I also, these things, these patterns, because now when you see the alcoholism in the family, you kind of figure it started somewhere. We just pass on these patterns from one generation to the next. So back to the polygamy. So polygamy was not, I wasn't a stranger to it, but it was this modernized version of polygamy that I was seeing that I didn't understand because it was secretive. You'd find that the wife wouldn't know about the other women, or she would discover them, with time, So for me, I found that very intriguing, and so it was like, I would really want to write a story, because, oftentimes the first wife, this is the modern polygamy I'm talking about. The first wife never signs up for it, and it's often imposed on her. And I think that's also unfair in the sense that it's one thing when you enter like 2, 3, and 4, wives, like the Olindani Matipas, because they come in knowing, so they have greater agency because you choose it. This man is married, so you kind of know the parameters. Whereas someone like Joyce walks into it with a different expectation that she thinks one man, one woman will live happily ever after. And so a lot of women now have to negotiate polygamy that they didn't sign up for. So I also wanted to tell that story from the POV of Joyce and the POV of women who choose it, because some do choose it willingly and enter into that arrangement. I mean, if you see Essie was aware that there was now a Joyce, but she stayed. She stayed and became the second wife, was hidden. And all those things have ramifications. So I was also keen to understand, like in a story, to tackle that. What does it mean to be the hidden kids? You don't quite have the same life as your other siblings. And what does that do, to the family structure? And what does that do, to the women in it as well? The jostling and the competitiveness as well of women, fighting for the attention of this one man. So that's really how the story evolved. So it had been stewing in my mind for years, but I only started writing it in 2010. Yeah, so that's when I wrote it. It was after the World Cup, which is quite interesting because we're on another World Cup cycle. So,
Full circle for you,
moment,
Sue. But how does it feel? You say that you don't want your books to just be read and put back on the shelf. You want them to bring about discussion. Now you've got a book that people are watching. It's now being watched internationally.
Yes.
So, it's not just in South Africa. It's not just in African countries. It's international. At the moment. How does it feel for you as a writer, one, to see your name on the screen, but also for you to know that you did that?
I'm in awe. Like, I remember when I first watched the series, I was blown away. First, to see my name on the credits.
Yeah.
Like you pause and you're like, hey, is that me? And then, so there's that, because it's right there. And it's the acknowledgement. I'm finally being seen. So for me, it was like there's that aspect of it. And then watching the series, right? When I watched the series, it had been a while since I'd read the book. It's been many years, right? So the adaptation was riveting. I mean, I also binge watched it. I mean, it wasn't initially. I said to myself, I want to savor these 22 episodes. I'll just watch 2 every day until I get to the end.
Impossible.
And then next thing, I'm on episode 7 and I can't stop, because it was just like I had to see. And the thing is, I also had the same. Even though I've written this book, it still has me chokehold, at the edge of my seat, and I'm also enjoying it just as the viewers would, right? I'm watching, and the thing is, because I got it before, it aired. I'm not allowed to discuss it, right? But I'm watching, but I want to debrief as well because I'm like, you don't want to say to someone, but you need to see this, but you can't talk. So for a while, it was like a whole month before, it came on, air for everyone, and so I wanted to talk about it, but I couldn't, and I'm just waiting. So for me, it was like, I want everyone to watch so that, they can see it so we can all talk about it. Because I also want someone to talk to. and so I understand when people were like, hey, I need to
talk to someone.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what am I seeing? And I remember when I got to the end, there were some parts that were very visceral, because it's one thing to write something. But when you suddenly see someone take that onto screen, and TV is such a visual medium,
Yeah.
There were some very difficult parts, I think, to watch, and where you shift in your seat, and I was thinking, did I write that? I was like, and then because I remember after I finished watching this, I went back to read the book again, and they were, I was like, there were heavy parts, and I actually had to ask myself, what was I thinking? Because I don't remember what was I, when I wrote, because it's been so many years. But, I was like, whoa, yeah, there were parts in there that were hectic. And what I do remember was when I started writing, it wasn't supposed to be a heavy story. It was just something supposed to be light, something I was doing after I'd finished, work. But I think as the story started to unravel, it took a life of its own. And yeah, it just did get dark in parts, almost like domestic noir. So for me, I was in awe. I was like, yeah, I created that. I created Jonasi. I was like, but it was that shock, when you see your work now in another medium, looking at, and you like, yeah, so it was, for me, it was like, I did that. Yeah. So it kind of took like, okay, that's me, Yeah. So it took a while to register, and because I'm just in awe, especially with the response. Look, I knew the series would be well received after watching it. I thought this is it's superb. The production, everyone, who was involved just brought their A game. Team is a collaborative. Filmmaking is a collaborative effort. It's teamwork, and so you could see that, with this project, everything aligned. Everything aligned, and the symbiosis is evident. The quality of the production, the casting. For me, it's seeing my characters come to life and come alive on screen. Yeah, so everything aligned, even timing, everything aligned. So, I expected it to be well received, but look, I didn't think it was going to go this big. Yeah, so that came as a surprise, because when it trended on the weekend, it was like fun and games. It was like, the usual when we watch a series and everyone's tweeting, and then when it didn't stop, I was like, okay, it's like a wildfire.
Yeah.
That really took us by surprise. Yeah, that was not expected at all. Yeah.
Sue, I know that when you wrote the book The Polygamist, you self-published The Polygamist. And a conversation that you and I had on a different platform, you did mention that somebody that you had given it to publishers, but people were just not interested.
Yes.
How did that leave you feeling as a writer, to know that you've written something that really could be an amazing novel, but people just didn't seem interested? Publishers did not seem interested.
Yeah, I think it was hard to take, because you always question yourself as a writer. Am I good enough? That's always the question. Is my work good enough? And how do you know it's good enough until it's out there in the world, right? And people give you feedback.
Now it's out there in a bigger scale, man.
So it was kind of like disheartening. But my editor at the time, Paula Murray, said to me, listen, I believe it's a good book and you've put so much work into it. Just self-publish. She was like, I've self-published. It doesn't take anything away from you. It's just that you have to fund the whole process on your own. So I decided to self-publish because I think at that time I was also itching to kind of see how they receive my work. Because I would think I was at 35 at that point. And I was like, time is going. It's either I'm going to start this writing career or I'm not. So there was also that tension with me. And so, so the book went out into the world and it didn't take off at all. So even, and remember, I'd moved here in 2008. I'm not known here. I'm not even known in the literary circles. So a lot of the early readers were friends, family and friends, who then recommended the book to other people. And, it was word of mouth. And I was trying to push it. It was very slow. And then 50 Shades of Grey came out and it was a huge hit. And I saw this bestseller and I'm like, yo, and nothing's happening with mine. It's like you're selling 10 copies here, 15 copies. And I had actually got a friend of mine, Victor, who invested in the project. And I'd said to him, listen, if we sell 1,000 copies, I can pay you back. But when I started to see the reality on the ground, it was not moving. And I would go to bookshops and say, no, it's selling. And I'm like, how many copies have you sold? They're like, 4. People, and I'm like, that's not what I wanted to hear at that time. But so it was a very slow start. And at some point, the distributor I had went bankrupt. They went belly up. And I get a call one day. They're like, we've got 1,000 of your novels here. Should we pulp them? And I'm like, no, don't pulp them. I drove to the warehouse, got all these books, put them in my boot. And now I'm sitting and I'm thinking, what? Because this is somebody's money, and my money's gone into it. And now I'm thinking, so how do I move these books? So I then had to become very savvy fast about the publishing industry and how it works. I managed to get another distributor, Bacchus Books, and they were very good. And he was because he's a one-man show. And he managed to move a lot of the books. He was very good at the marketing. And then I was also trying to market the book. I started being on Twitter. I also would approach, magazines, trying to push it on radio. You're knocking on doors. You're trying to do all you can to actually start moving the book. And then in 2016, Tiny Mungwe, she was one of the program curators for Time of the Writer in Durban. She read the book and then she invited me to participate in the festival. And it was the first time I'd ever been invited to a literary festival. And I was so excited because here you are. I'm finally in a room with other writers, like writers you also admire, that you look up to. And I was just glad to be invited. Just that door opening for me. And so the festival profiled me, showcased my work. And I think after that, people started to be more interested. Who is this Nyathi? And they started to read the book. But by that time, I was already writing The Gold Diggers, the second book. So for me, that platform gave me a lot of exposure and publicity. So that really the book then started to pick up traction in 2017. And then when I published the book Gold Diggers came out in 2018. So I went with Pan Macmillan with that book. I didn't self-publish. But, because I was looking for that validation. Because when you self-publish, people don't take you seriously. It's unlike other industries, like indie film. If you're like a musician and you own your own record label, it's a big thing. It's kudos to you. But in publishing, people always they suspect like vanity publishing. Like your work probably wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
So for me, I needed the validation, and having a big publisher like Pan Macmillan, pick up my work, endorsed me. It was like the stamp, and I think because they had, the big budgets and they were able to market me. And I think that's when my audience also grew. And so people read The Gold Digger, started to go to my backlist. And I think that's when things really started to pick up. And that's when I also decided, okay, let me put my weight behind this writing. So it happened all at the same time in about 2018. Yeah.
Sure. Let's speak a little bit. You speak, of course, about going to a festival, a literary festival. You see all these writers there. Which African writer has inspired you?
So at that festival, there was no Violet Bulawayo. And she's actually from Bulawayo, where I come from. And no Violet, when her book came out, she was huge. Her book was published in the US, and she just had like instantaneous success. You might be aware of the title, We Need New Names. And so they put me on the same platform with her. So I was like a little unknown. And here I am. And I was like, wow, I was like, it's possible. That's what that said to me. It's possible to make it in this writing career industry. You can make it. So for me, she showed me what was possible. And, I'll be honest, at that time I was still very, very much a novice. I didn't know. When I came from Zim, that we didn't have much of a writing industry. And the women in the forefront of the writing industry were much older. The likes of Yvonne Vera, Tsitsi Dangaremga, they were like the heavyweights, And obviously, as an upcoming writer, you look at them and you don't compare in any way, in any shape or form, because they had established careers, they had international careers. But those were the women we looked up to growing up. And I remember the one time there was a writing workshop at the National Gallery, and I applied. You had to submit a short piece, and my work was selected. And I was, we were in the presence of it was Yvonne Vera was facilitating, and another author called Shima Chinojka. And I looked at them sitting there having this conversation, and I was like, one day, one day's one day, but I'm going to be there as well. So it's those instances that really gave me that something to aspire to look forward to say, look, it's possible. But so when I was on Time of the Writer, I'm seated with no Violet. All it said to me, it's possible. In the same way, I'm sure what I have achieved with The Polygamist is sending a signal to another writer, another young writer who's not sure of her work, who's not sure if her stories are valid or her voice is valid. It's going to send a signal that no, your stories are valid, your story is important, and that the world wants to hear your stories, and that it's possible. And when one door opens, it opens a door for many.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What are some of those challenges that women authors are still facing in this day and age in Africa, really, do you think?
I mean, the challenges of getting published as a Black female author. Tsitsi Dangaremba also writes about it in her latest book, about what it means to be Black and female and writing, and how oftentimes Black female authors get marginalized. So it's been tough, for Black women writers. And, I'm thankful for those who've gone before us and opened those doors so that we could walk through them. And I think what's tougher for me, a lot of successful African authors were published overseas. They had the might of big publishers in the US and the UK. And it's so much easier for books to be sold down from America to Africa. So we consume everything that comes from there. But it's harder when you're published in Southern Africa to sell your work up. There's just no appetite for it. There's no interest. And so you have a lot of people on the continent jostling, looking for agents, jostling to have their work published overseas, because that's how you get the visibility. So for me, what this adaptation has done is it's given me the visibility that I would never have received otherwise. I mean, it's exposed my work through the TV series. And now people are saying, but who wrote the book? And it's coming back, they're looking for the book now, which for me is just a huge triumph, because many people will watch something on television, but they don't really check the credits or want to know more, But so for me, the exposure is just, it's done a lot for my career and my brand. And because, that's the kind of visibility I've always been looking for as a writer.
Let's talk about that, Sue. this adaptation that we see on Netflix, like you say, we don't often look at the credits, but I think what they've done well as well is that your name appears quickly, even before you try and look as to what's happening on the actual screen. You see your name appearing already. What has that done for you? What's happening now in Sue's life following that adaptation of your book on Netflix?
People want to hear my story, and I'm here to tell the story to the whole world because, beyond just marketing myself, it's going to inspire another writer who's probably writing in obscurity, in a void, and not knowing, does my voice carry? It will inspire someone. And also, people are going to say, okay, so there's this writer from Southern Africa, there must be more. They're going to start looking. It's going to bring the attention and the spotlight to us down south. In the deep south, I call it the deep south, we tend to be ignored regionally as when it comes to literary circles. The most prominent writers who get most of the attention right now are in West Africa. Nigeria dominates in the storytelling space. So I'm glad that the spotlight is shifting because we have stories, we have powerful stories, and our stories are also waiting to be heard. Yeah, so that's what it means for me.
Are you seeing an uptick now in selling of your books?
Yeah, sure. I can tell you, we would do the Polygamist. We'd sell at least maybe 1,000 copies per year. That's what we were doing previously. Now we're doing 2,000 copies a month. Because I'm just looking at the orders now, post. Our orders have shot up. And previously, that's what I'm saying to you, I would never have had that volume of demand for the book. And I can only attribute it to the Netflix effect. That's what it has done. People are looking for it online. My DMs blew up, and people every day are writing. I get emails, where can we find the book? Where can we buy the book? Because now people want to read the book, which to me is great. It started with the series, but now they're actually looking for the work, and they probably will now go back and read my backlist, which is great. It's a great sort of, what can I say, effect from what the series has done. So I'm filled with gratitude for that.
You spoke, of course, about it going from Southern Africa moving up, internationally. Are you seeing that as well with the requests for the book?
Not yet.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just waiting now because the biggest challenge is distribution. You can't just distribute anywhere. You need a publisher who will buy the rights for that region. And so what I've seen now is a lot of West African publishers have approached me, wanting to buy the rights so that they can print the book in those different regions and make it accessible, because that's another important thing. Books aren't easily accessible. Our rights only limit us to the SADC areas. We can't move books beyond that. And it's expensive. So ideally you want someone to be able to buy the rights and print those books locally so that they're accessible, that people can read them. We want people to read. But the way it's set up right now, we can only ship or move by road, which is very expensive. So now I'm also waiting for people overseas, and there's now starting to be interest, like translation rights as well. People in France, there's a huge French audience that now want the book. And so those are different avenues, to get the book accessible. So I'm excited because, so many things are happening. So we're waiting now for publishers in America and in the UK to say, listen, we want to print the book and buy the rights, because it will mean my book is easily accessible. It's interesting because people still want to read the hard copy. They, as much as we have it on Amazon as an ebook, people still want the
hard copy.
To say, listen, we want to buy the paperback. So I'm hoping that will also open up those doors to have my books readily available in different markets, open markets for me. And this is an answered prayer. I don't think you understand, Sehu. There's this prayer, Jabez's prayer in the Bible, where he says, Lord, expand my territory. And I've been praying that, because I've been itching to grow just beyond Southern Africa. So for me, this is an answered prayer point. Look, I didn't think it would be this big, but, but I'm like, thank you, God.
Yeah.
Thank you. You heard my prayers.
Yeah, and I think you've been preparing for it, right? Because if you're praying it for so many years, when it happens, you're prepared and ready for it to blow up the way that it has blown up.
No, I don't think so.
Not at all.
No, I mean, look, I thought, God will probably maybe take it to West Africa, but he's like, no, darling, we're going global, so no, I don't think you could ever be. I think also sometimes we also scared to dream that big. You're like, okay, but yeah, for me, this is an answered prayer.
Yeah, and we're so happy that your prayer is getting answered. You definitely deserve it. How do you deal with writer's block?
So I don't call it writer's block. Well, it is writer's block, but for me, when I get writer's block, it just signals to me that whatever you're doing, you're going in the wrong direction. Sure. It's almost like your navigator telling you you're lost, do a U-turn. Mm-hmm. So that's how I view it. If I find myself with writer's block, I know there's a plot point or something that I'm not doing right. It's just like a bell, like telling me, you need to rethink what you're doing. Because with writer's block, it means you can't move forward. Mm-hmm. And when you try and push against it, it means you're pushing against something that you shouldn't be pushing against anyway. Yeah. So for me, it's a signal, stop what you're doing, rethink it. So whenever I write this block, I just stop. I leave it. And then I start trying to work backwards. Like, why isn't it working? Mm-hmm. And normally, if I do that, it resolves itself. And then I just go back to writing. But I don't force it. For me, it's just saying that idea is not going to take you anywhere. Just stop. Yeah, you're in the wrong. Reroute. So
do something else.
Yeah, reroute. Yeah, and so that's how I deal with writer's block. It's just I know now creatively. I just need to reroute.
What is the one piece of advice, Sue, that you may have gotten when you started writing that has now stuck with you even now?
Oh, I've got so much. There's been a lot of advice. The first draft is not the best draft. Yeah. So I think that really always sticks with me. The hardest thing is to get down that first draft, and most times I think as a creative you want to publish that first draft, but you need to, even if it's draft 5, 6, the more drafts you have, the better chances you'll have a better book. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's always that temptation. You've got the first draft, you want to now go to print. But I've learned, it's just that, the way things are, people, you're always under pressure to produce. But yeah, work on it. Sometimes it's like marinating meat. The longer it sits, the better. It's the same with the story. And yeah, I think for me, that's advice that is enduring.
Yeah. What brings you joy outside of writing?
Oh, a lot of things. I like traveling. I like seeing, discovering new places, traveling. I love traveling. I love musicals. Okay. Watching them, recitals, dance recitals. As long as it's, there's movement, I enjoy that. I like concerts as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah, just performing arts I enjoy. Obviously, I like reading. I can't run away from that. I love TV, binge watching series. Right now I'm obsessed with Taylor Sheridan. Mm-hmm. You might have seen he's got these series 1883, 1923, Yellowstone, Landman. So I love his work and I'm just gobbling it all up. Julian Fellows, I love his work too. Downton Abbey.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and The Gilded Age. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I like, period dramas a lot. Anything I think with history in it, I enjoy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, so that's really what I love doing So I don't often get time to watch television because you're writing, and you need to read as well. So that takes up a lot of my time, but when I do, I love binge-worthy stuff. And it has to be binge-worthy. So, yeah, it has to be worth my while. That weekend that I have that time, it must, yeah. So, yeah, that's that's basically me in a nutshell. That's really what I love doing. Yeah.
When you write, are you typing or are you writing pen and paper?
No, I type. Early on when I was still studying, I used to do pen and paper, but it's better for me to type because there's backspace and delete.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of those writers, I don't like to see a mess on paper. So I used to waste a lot of paper because the minute I made a mistake, I would crunch it up, throw it away. At least when you type, you backspace, delete, there's that room. But the problem as well sometimes is you cut and paste something, or you delete a whole paragraph and you realize I needed it. So that's a disadvantage with typing. But for me, typing is faster because sometimes the thoughts comes fast and you need to be, writing might be too slow for that. So I prefer to type.
What's the one thing that you think people misunderstand about you or have misunderstood about you?
Probably lots of things, I guess. I mean, for one thing, like someone will say, the content of my books, right, is not Christian, because that I don't know what. Yeah, that always I find that argument weird, because I could go on. It's another story for another day. But there's always that people have a certain idea of how a Christian
should live.
Yeah, and some things are unchristian. But I always feel, there's always subliminal messages that most people don't miss, that they exist in art. And they're open to deeper interpretation. And I think if you're just looking for your typical faith-based slap in the face, you're going to miss it. Sometimes there are those deeper messages, but they're not on the surface. They're buried in the meaning of what you're writing and creating. But look, it doesn't bother me that, if I'm misunderstood. Or the thing is, I've come to learn, I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And the idea is not to be liked by everyone, And similarly, not everyone's going to appreciate my work, and that's also okay. Everyone has their constituency. There are people who like my work. And I will focus, that's my market. And that's who I'm here to service. And I'll just focus on servicing that market. And that's okay. So, a lot of people, So it really doesn't bother me that, because I think the problem is when you try to please everyone. You never will be. So just do your best to those people, for those people who do appreciate your work and what you're about. Yeah, and you don't need to explain yourself. Look at my, it's okay to be misunderstood at times, Yeah, so, I don't, I've learned not to take these things to heart, especially as you grow older. I think age gives you that edge as well. You stop giving and no, seriously, as you get older, you have that freedom. When I was younger, I used to seek a lot of external validation. But as you grow older and you grow into yourself, you become more comfortable in your skin. It ceases to matter. And you just now focus on the business at hand. There's an urgency in me as I grow older because, I start to appreciate time is not, on my side, and there's more where that came from. So it's like there's that urgency. Okay, I need to also write. And you can't be writing and worrying about what people are thinking. You just need to focus on what you're doing. Yeah.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee. Oh, definitely coffee. I love coffee, but I drink a lot of tea as well.
Really?
But coffee, I need coffee to get my day started. But I love herbal teas. Yeah, I love herbal teas a lot.
Do you do morning or afternoon writings?
Morning, definitely morning.
What's it about the mornings?
I just get more work done in the mornings. I think mornings are a productive time for me. That's why I probably used to write at 3 a.m. But I don't write at 3 a.m. anymore. I think as you get older, you struggle to
wake up.
Yeah. But I'm a morning. I prefer to write in the mornings. Morning until, and into the afternoon. But let me get started in the morning.
Paperback or Kindle?
Paperback, yeah. Paper.
Always.
Yes, paper. Touch and feel,
Always.
yeah.
Yeah. What's the one Zimbabwean dish that people should try?
Umfushwa. Yeah.
Explain.
They sort of dried vegetables. Any form. So it could be pumpkin leaves, anything that's dried. And then you cook it. I don't know what it is about it. Just it slaps hard. But pumpkin leaves, for those who might not know other Zimbabwean dishes, we have this dish called ipobola, made from pumpkin leaves. Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah.
A city that has inspired you. You love traveling. So which city has given you some great inspiration?
In terms of writing,
Yeah.
I'd probably say Accra. I love it.
Oh, Accra's beautiful as well. One word that you think your friends would describe you. How would they describe you?
Creative. They'd probably say, yeah. That's what I always say, creative.
What do you think was your biggest creative character that you've done so far?
Oh, there are lots. It's just that I think now Nyathi has taken the world by storm, but there's more where that came from. Yeah, baning.
And then one book, this is a silly question, that everyone should read.
That's hard. They should read all of them.
You
can't read one book. I think once you start on my books, you have to read all of them.
Yeah. Is there a book coming up soon?
Next year, probably. But I've been working on nonfiction. So I'm saying the fiction will be next year, but nonfiction, there is a book titled Manhood Confessions from the Heart. I edited it. It's 21 men, pouring out their hearts as they reckon with masculinity and manhood. The expectations and the realities of being a man and what it means to be a man. I think it's also another important conversation that we need to have. And as a mom raising a boy, it's also a conversation that's close to my heart.
How do you de-stress? Or how do you debrief for yourself when you've written something? How do you kind of let go of what you've written?
I just take time out.
Okay.
Yeah. I like spa. The spa for me is the best way to unwind and just, because that really relaxes me.
Okay.
That's my sort of like go and just be still,
Some quietness.
In quietness, and just, because I don't really think, it's that space where nothing's going on in my mind. Because, as a writer, your mind is always moving. It's like a busy cog. Cog is spinning in your head all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you.
No,
we look forward to the next book, Sue.
I also look forward to finishing it.
Thank you for your time.
It's a
Truly
pleasure.
appreciate it. Sue Nyathi, she's the author of various books, but of course, the biggest one that is blown up now is The Polygamist. If you haven't watched the series, where have you been? You need to check it out, but maybe read the book first and then watch the series. That's it from us here at Conversations with Eminent Women. Remember to like and to subscribe on our YouTube channel. Until next time, wherever you go, whoever you encounter, just be kind and protect your peace. Bye-bye.